The public meeting of the City of Tallahassee Independent Ethics Board is now called to order at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, October 21, 2025. The board members are present here at the Tallahassee Room in City Hall, along with members of the public. With the assistance of the Communications Department and the Information Technology Department, this meeting is live streamed on the Ethics Board website, and we are recording it for future reference. There's a delay with online communications, and we should all be patient. As always, we thank those members of the City of Tallahassee for their support. For those attending the meeting online, please make sure your microphone is muted. We ask the public to email ethics@talgov.com if they wish to speak online on agenda or non-agenda items. Those who have submitted their names will be allowed to speak as scheduled. While the meeting is in progress, please do not speak during the board's discussion. We've set aside 2 places on the agenda for the public to speak. For those who wish to make a public comment, please complete speaker request form and forward it to the administrative specialist, Ms. Tasker Leverson Green. Be sure to state what you wish to speak about on the form. Public speakers will be given up to 3 minutes in accordance with the bylaws of the board. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Tasker, can you do the roll call?
Kristen Costa, Patrick Kelly,
Here.
Rika Calhoun, Adam Commissar.
Here.
Caroline Clanky,
Here.
Mary Alice David.
Here.
Brian Smith. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much.
For the record, I did hear from Ms. Calhoun. She's not here for family reasons.
Okay. Now we're supposed to approve the minutes from the meeting. Has everybody reviewed the minutes? Does anyone have any questions, concerns they want to share? Do you have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. Further comment on agenda items. Do you have any further comments?
No.
Okay, then I'll turn it over to our director for the ethics office report.
Thank you, Kelly. As written, this report is for the period September 9th through October 10th. We conducted ethics training as we do each month. We initiated an effort to promote the Campaign Country Refund Program, draft the revisions to the strategic plan, which has been completed, and completed the board's annual report. Am I looking at the right one? Yeah. We prepared materials for the monthly meeting. And responded to, closed out the year, and then we responded to ethics complaints. And you have a record of the, I don't have it. You have a record of financial, I have the wrong inside. If you have.
Just,
Oh. Okay. What I was doing was looking at last month's meeting.
reviewing those minutes.
Now you know how Tasker helps.
Deserved break.
She hasn't brought me my crutch yet, so I'm okay. I feel so much better. I apologize. Wow. We got something out of me. Okay. So starting over, this is for September 9th through 25th to October 13th. We conducted an in-person ethics training. We promoted the campaign contribution refund program, start advertising what will be board vacancy come December 31st. Prepare materials for this meeting. We spoke with the city attorney's office, inspector general's office on an issue that will ultimately come before the board, we think. We started drafting the online course for city advisory board members, and I'll talk about that course in a little bit. We continued efforts to distribute the ethics guide to all city employees, responded to complaints, and handled administrative duties as we always do. You see a long list of expenditures. A big part of that was my travel to Tennessee to take the investigative training. And you see also down there, somewhere down there where I actually bought a textbook on investigations. Cell phone, office supplies. And do you have any questions or concerns? Actually go to the next page. Tasker is going to Toastmasters, so we renewed that. This is going in our direction. When I advertised the campaign contribution refund, I did that largely through Facebook, where you can boost and target the audience. And by way of responses, people's responses, I could tell that it actually was effective in doing that. So didn't cost much, cost a lot less than radio, and it was effective. And then you have the budget. It did come in at around 88,000. It'll probably be December before we get a final report, but it'll still be between 80 and 88,000 as the final balance for this fiscal year. As of October 1st, we start a new fiscal year. Any questions about the report or the finances? Concerns? Okay, if not, we didn't have any referrals, but we had two complaints. One was an anonymous complaint through an encrypted email. I actually received it in 2022 and turned it over to the inspector general's office. And I checked with them 1 or 2 times, and I decided to check again, and that actually it went to FDLE. FDLE investigated it. Inspector General's office reviewed the investigation and found that there were no violations of city policy. I looked at it, no violations of the ethics code. It was a case of, it was a legitimate complaint in the sense that it looked fraudulent, but when they got in the system, they found out there was an error in the system, and they used the same name for 2 different applications, and so they just had to correct the name, and that was the end of the investigation. And the other one was also anonymous complaint. A lot of it was really at an employee level. There may have been things that we could have opened an investigation on had it been something other than an anonymous complaint. I will say from looking at it, John looking at it, I have the impression that the city's already looked at all of this complaint. I think there was a lawsuit involved at one point. So the city has already responded to it. Regardless, I will refer it to the proper bodies to make sure they have responded. So on both of these, I'm asking the board to close.
Do we need a motion for that? So moved.
Kelly makes a motion and Ms. David seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Next, we have our general update.
General update, I just wanted to make sure everybody had made a note that the December meeting will be December 16th. Okay. To make sure everybody can be there, that we will have an election. Unfortunately, that will be Chair Costa's last meeting. She will have served 2 terms. You can come back after a year. I'll give you a call. It'll be her last meeting, and we will be electing a new chair at that point. And so want to try to make sure everybody's here for that. We will be distributing the ethics guide to all city employees on Friday. The campaign contribution refund program, seen a little boost compared to the past. Nothing to jump up and down about, but we have gotten 29 applications, which is a lot more than we usually get in a whole year. And I contributed a lot of that to the people running for office. There were 2 people primarily who took this seriously, and you can see it in the donations. We are creating a course for advisory committees, commissions, and board members. This is required. The city attorney's office has, over the years, taken a lot of that load and has been conducting that. But it is our responsibility, and we're creating a course. I did half of it, and Esther did the other half, and it's coming together very well. And because we actually have ethics, and we could use a lot of material from the annual course for that, just directed toward them. And then Tasker's working on the sunshine laws and record laws. And that's where we actually took training material. I actually watched a training session by one of the attorneys, and then I have their PowerPoints, so I didn't have to do a lot of research. But we created a script that was directed at this particular audience. We're combining those into one course. So all of the members, advisory committee members will have to take that training. And then every time there's a new board member or committee member, they will have to take that training. So everyone will receive it annually. And that's the beginning of that process. And you will see that course next month. And we are trying to get the word out there to let people know that about the pending vacancy. I hope to bring to you a list of applications in November. So you can make that choice. This is a large position, so you as a body will have the opportunity to select that next person. Any questions or concerns about anything I've talked about? Okay.
I just wanted to, touching up on that, if you haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast that Chief Kelly and Mr. Floyd spoke on, I think they did a remarkable job. And also talking about, I was thinking it was going to be more about just the campaign contribution program, but I really like that she integrated a lot of ethics forward and what we are and what we come from and how we were derived. I think that was even just as powerful as the information about the campaign contribution program. So you guys did a great job. Thank you for representing.
Sure. I appreciate Chief Kelly coming to be my other brother.
I forwarded it to some friends and family, and they all listened to it, and the consensus was that Dwight needs to be on radio. Actually, what happened was they had an NPR contract offered for him by the time I tore it up, said, no, he's not leaving.
Yeah, I thought it was boring, but boring is good. So, thank you.
So next we have advisory opinion. The focus of this opinion is the use of social media by elected officials.
Yes, so this is AO 2025-03 requested by Commissioner Jack Porter. She has been selected and volunteered to participate in a pretty well-known event in town, Dancing with the Stars Tallahassee. It's a charity event sponsored by Legal Services of North Florida. She had questions on what she was permitted to do and not permitted to do. So I think we tried to lay out as thorough of an analysis as possible. First and foremost, we looked at a little background. The organization is a 501c3. It's a good cause. Of course, as we've learned in our prior advisory opinions, being a good cause isn't always your get out of jail free card, but it still was worthy of including in the analysis. We broke it into two parts. She really was focused primarily on the misuse of public position, but since we've addressed the free publicity issue in prior opinions, I felt we should address that as well. So we broke it into two sections: misuse of public position and solicitation and acceptance of gifts. And then as far as the misuse of public position, we also broke that into two parts. One was her participation, and second was her promotion of the event through her official city commissioner Facebook page or Facebook account. So we did not see an issue with her participating in the event. I know she also spoke to the city attorney's office, who provided that same opinion. The issue of participating or publicizing the participation on the social media account or the Facebook account was really the primary issue she came to us. And we went ahead and we keep breaking everything in two. We broke that also and say you can promote the event listed as something you're doing within the community, but you can't direct people to their private page for fundraising purposes. We went through and looked at 4 of the 5 commissioners have official Facebook accounts. Remember, I guess, figured it was too much trouble. Good for him, chose to stay out of it. But all of them do generally list what they're doing out in the community, whether they're at an event for what's the food people that we were talking about the other day? Second Harvest, yeah. I think one of them was at a Second Harvest event, promoting what they do, put on the official account. I think I saw something for Goodwill as well. And I think that's something when we went back and asked that the ordinance be rewritten, I think one issue we had was that the net was too wide, and we were prohibiting our elected officials from doing things that they're kind of expected to do. They go out in the community, they cut ribbons, they kiss the babies, et cetera. Went through the city charter, city ordinances. They don't really list exactly what their duties are, so there wasn't anything that we could really point to that kind of narrow, say, oh, you got to stay within these lines. It was pretty general, and I think that it's been kind of widely accepted that that's just something that elected officials do. They communicate with the public, tell them what they're doing, they tell them how they could be more involved in the community. And we felt that participating in the Legal Services of North Florida event kind of served that purpose. So we felt that it would be very similar to doing the Second Harvest or the Goodwill, kind of saying, I'm participating in this event, it's a great cause, et cetera. The area where we said this is maybe a bridge too far was the inclusion of a link that would take you externally out of the official Facebook account to a page created by Legal Services of North Florida. And they create a page for each participant. So it would be an official Jack Porter page on their server that I think it has like a little fundraising thermometer where you can see all the money going up, and then you could click to donate or sponsor, buy tickets, et cetera. So while the link on the Facebook account wouldn't say, I mean, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't say donate. Once you go to the page, that's the primary purpose of that page. We felt that went beyond what would be expected to be the general practices of a city commissioner. And that was where we said, okay, this may be a bridge too far. And I think it's the manner inconsistent with the proper performance of officials or employees' office. So we said community engagement, yes, that's kind of expected, proper performance. Fundraising for a private organization, well, I think everybody agrees it's an organization. That's not your proper performance. So we said that we made that distinction on the social media. We broke down the different elements using a position or a city resource. The question is the official Facebook account Facebook's account? Is it the city's account? I think the fact that they'd be using city resources, I think usually staff is the one who operates it. I think that clearly would be a city resource. So we said, for all sakes, it did appear to be an official city resource. Special benefit to others, obviously, they're fundraising for a third party, Legal City of North Florida, so there is a special benefit. Inconsistent with the proper performance, like I said, was kind of the decisive factor that we looked at. Participating in the event, yes, community engagement, fundraising, no, that's something you don't normally see a city commissioner do. And then the knows or should know standard. Obviously she would know that once they go to this page, the main purpose of going to that page is to fundraise. So we said that that would be met. I think we also put here, I mentioned Second Harvest, Goodwill. There's a donation campaign for disaster victims. This may be something that the city wants to address through guidelines. I think they have social media guidelines, but they're primarily, I think they may have exclusively directed at employees. Doesn't really address how city leaders would approach it. That may be something that they wish to look into. So as far as our conclusion one, we broke it into two. Yes, you could discuss the event. No, you cannot fundraise. We also then listed best practices. This is something we don't normally do, but I felt because the social media is such a kind of a complex and complicated issue, I think I put here, the social media blurs the lines between what's official, what's personal. I think we also point out that there can be communications that a city commissioner puts on their personal account that could be deemed an official communication. And I see this somewhat analogous to the public record standard. You could send an official communication through your personal cell phone, even if your governmental entity assigns you a phone. Just because you use your private phone to send out a communication related to your official role, it still is a public record subject to Chapter 119. So we kind of wanted to stress here that if you're saying, I'm a commissioner, give it to me, I'm a commissioner, but you're doing it on your private page, you're still kind of blurring the line. And now, is it private? Is it public? So we did kind of list out what we felt the best practices would be. Official city account, I think, is pretty easy. Personal or campaign accounts as well. Should be private, should be personal. However, they need to be careful the way they invoke their official title or whether they're implying that some type of city endorsement. City-sponsored charitable events. I think there was a 501c3 that we discussed a year or so ago that the city actually created. That would be completely separate because that would be within the proper performance. Sometimes you might see the city might take a vote to get involved with a particular event. I think that would also fall into that proper performance category. And then, of course, we always say, come back to us. We'll always do advisory opinions. So that's our fourth recommendation is if you have questions, it's better to ask for, like the expression is the other way around, but it's better to ask for permission instead of forgiveness. But I guess that's what we have to say. Second one is the solicitation of gift. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of promotion. The event, I don't know if you've ever been, probably hundreds, maybe 1,000 people that attend. The media usually covers it. It's a pretty big deal. So Commissioner Porter is obviously going to get some publicity from this event. So we had to look then, does the entity that's providing this free earned media, do they fall within one of those three groups that are prohibited donors of gifts, whether they are a lessee of public property, a lobbyist or somebody, or a city vendor? And searching all the databases and consulting with the city attorney's office, we found that the Legal Services of North Florida did not meet any of those three groups. So the issue then became moot, whether she was getting the publicity. It's not a prohibited organization. So that is essentially our opinion.
Are there any questions?
No, I just think you did a very good, thorough job. Appreciate it.
I've got one question, just because when I read it, it meant one thing to me, and then you said something that just maybe the wondering me is making thinking this is going to be the issue that's going to come up. On page 5 of 9, we basically kind of give the example of what we've done. Commissioner Jack Porter with LSF Dancing with the Stars after is okay. Can that also be a link to the event? Not to a, because then over here we say it crosses the line on page 6. announce participation in events without solicitation or donate links. So when I first read the opinion, I thought what it was going to be is saying, if you're going to an event or taking part in it, you can post that event, not telling people to donate to it, not doing it. If those people then want to go look at that event's website and see that within that event's website, there's like 6 people you can pick from to donate to, I didn't think that crossed a line. But when you were kind of describing it about not having a link to the event, it made me think that somebody listening to it might think that does. And I'm just trying to figure out, can the person, when they say we'll participate in Dancing with the Stars or whatever the thing is, then have a link to that general thing they're participating in? Because under the best practices, it makes it sound like you could. Because it just says participate in civic or charitable events without solicitation or donation links. So if you're just sending it to the event, is that okay? I thought that was kind of the distinction we were going to make, is if it's your official page, no asking for money and no directing people to something that's going to directly ask them for money. I'm just saying, is the commissioner's probably going to get this, or whoever get it, and wonder, so am I allowed to post the link to the thing, or does it just need to be these words?
Okay, that's a good point. I think I don't know if there was a link to the event itself when I went on there. It was each individual had one, so I said those words will be there, and then on Facebook, you would have to actually then post the link. You can't embed a hyperlink into the text itself. So I think I just said, well, these are the words that would appear, but then there would be no link.
But could they even have like a link just to Legal Services of North Florida? When I was thinking of this first time, I actually thought it was kind of funny that you're probably going to actually get more donations if you just refer somebody to an organization. Then they read about it. Then they see you're taking part in it. People are probably used to getting blasted with politicians and donate now links, and that probably doesn't mean anything to them. But I think the follow-up question somebody would have in their position is, can I post a link to the organization when I tell them I'm taking part in an event for this organization?
So is the problem the link to the organization, or is the problem the link to?
Donate, or a suggestion to donate, or, because if we're allowed to say they're taking part in a civic organization, can they link to the civic organization?
Or to the event page.
Yeah, I would think the event
Maintained
page.
by the civic organization.
Yeah, I thought the line was crossed when you use that page to ask for money for that organization,
Right.
or when you use your personal page using your fancy title to ask for money to an organization.
That's the way I understood it too. It doesn't seem to me that if I'm participating in a charity function as a politician, and in my Facebook page, I refer to that charity, and when the person goes there, it's just a general charity page, that's a problem. The problem is if they go there and there are pictures there and they're asking to donate money back to me. That's the problem, correct?
I think that's the point.
That's my understanding.
That's the way I interpret
Is that what you're understanding too?
Yeah, either back to me as in like my portion of this charity.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So it's just the idea of, can they post a generic link to the organization they're taking part in when they announce they're taking part in an organization?
I didn't really think of that, because when I went through and looked at the other members, everybody just mentioned the organization and usually included photos, but didn't include links. I guess we could
We probably
delve
need
into
to
that
address
issue.
it. We probably need to address it.
Yeah, I think.
Could you clarify it by adding another sentence to the end of that first blurb on the top of page 5 of 9? Could you add another sentence including, a generic link to the event or organization?
Would likely not violate the
Yeah.
ethics code, but
Would be permissible
should
under
be
the Tallahassee ethics. Code.
proceed with caution if you were going to connect with any website that's asking people for money or whatever.
I would think it would almost be on a case-by-case basis, depending on what that landing page looks like. If her picture is the first thing when you click on the link, even though it's just, if they happen to decide to use her picture as the advertisement for Dancing with the Stars, well, that's an implication that it's fundraising for her rather than the moment, unless there is a true Dancing with the Stars event. And then moving for everyone is equally represented on the page. I would think. It would be my interpretation, because then that's a generic, everyone is getting the same FaceTime.
I think the key is a general link to the charity that you're participating in your events is not an issue. Whether your picture or someone else's picture is there, I don't think is as relevant as that a person seeing that, there's an implication by seeing that or specific words saying, donate to this person who's running for office again. I think that's what we have to make sure is not there. Does that make sense?
The active solicitation.
That's right.
I think is what you're focusing on,
Right.
which is really good because there was a February 2025 case. I believe it came out of the First District Court of Appeals, Underhill versus Commission on Ethics, that looked specifically at passive solicitation versus proactive solicitation. And that concept of solicitation is one that courts of law and other commissions that are similarly situated have focused upon. And similarly, that distinction can be made just by adding just a few more words. You know, because you have a contra as your final paragraph at the top of page 5 of 9. You could expand the half paragraph at the top to say what is permissible, being a generic acknowledgement of the event or your participation therein, and a link generically to the event itself or to the charity itself, versus active solicitation for donations to corporations. Charitable in nature, yes, but
Because all the money is going to the charity. I think that, yeah, because it's not campaign donations. The issue here is that it's not a city charity, so can the city page be used to request donations to a non-city charity?
yeah.
And what they want to say is, or somebody's going to say is, it's a city website using an announcement of what a city commissioner is doing. And then whatever happens after that seems to not be our business.
But the fine point here is focusing on the solicitation.
Yeah.
Which we're all like kind of reading it in, like our gaze conceptually is that the distinction is between using the official Facebook page, which is a public resource for announcement purposes and for factual and information purposes, versus active solicitation of contributions to a corporation.
I think active or implied.
Yeah. Passive.
Because if anybody sees it and they think that means they're asking for money, that becomes a problem.
That's why the donate now link would be impermissible, but just a link to the organization would be permissible.
Yeah, and I think that when I wrote this, so the word starts on page 4, and then it goes a neutral informational post. So I think I kind of read that as implied, as there's no active or passive request for funds, but we can flesh that out. If the board feels that's more appropriate, we could say a neutral informational post. For example,
Implied or active solicitation, something of that nature.
Or like a neutral link to an organization or an event page.
Homepage, yeah.
Neutral informational post, including a link, a generic link to the event page or charity page,
so we could
organizational page.
And again, the only gray zone would be is if it's a smaller organization that doesn't have 5 landing pages and just has a central page that when you click on it, that's the highlight, that's all they do all year. And so that would be the gray zone for, in this case, I believe they're probably big enough. I was about to look it up on my phone just out of curiosity to see if they have an About Us page and then they have a Dancing with the Stars event page. I would guess they would, but like Blessing Cup might not. Or something like that, that's a smaller organization that, again, doesn't have necessarily the resources to be able to create a big grandiose website. They get 1, maybe 2 pages. Their donate now goes to PayPal, you know, because they can't even have their own income sourcing. That would be where it would be muddied waters and maybe we could even add, if available, like if a generic landing page was available, just so that this could go for other, because I'm more worried, well, one, answering for her, but if we're going to use this as an advisory opinion for others to look towards, they'll be like, oh, they said I could post a link. Oh, oops, it had the donation page front and center on that page. So maybe if there is a landing page available without the solicitation front and center. And obviously that is not the right legal words to put on there, but
I think, John, I think you did a good job. I think we're all saying that, but I think remove a little bit of the ambiguity is what we're saying, and that would just take a little more work to specify.
and I think that also kind of fleshes out what we were saying, how we've gone back to the city to ask for clarification, because again, in their positions of mayor and city commission, we want them to be able to support. I mean, I would want my organizations to be able to have people involved that people might know about, or be able to bring more people to come. But maybe this helps with that and allows them to do it. And we take our stand, if they're not going to make it clearer on their point, is that we say, we still think this is okay.
And he's written, you want to share with you your thoughts?
So I actually have been trying to think of not Dancing with the Stars, but how would this, I kept talking about the Second Harvest. Because I saw that commonly. And Second Harvest, they want you to donate food. So if you go to the page, Second Harvest, like right here, I click Fighting Hunger, Second Harvest of Big Bend. Right at the very top of the page, donate.
Donate now.
Is which be malpractice if they didn't do that. But then you scroll down and it kind of shows different things they do, their service area, their vision. So I thought that maybe if we wrote a neutral informational post, which may include a link to a general page that is not primarily established for the purpose of fundraising, comma, for example.
Yeah, I'm liking that wording.
Because I think,
Or you can just put a period after that and then start, for example.
okay, yeah. Yeah, because then, it is getting a little run on. So, so we could say informational post, which may include a general page that is not merely, is not established for the primary purpose of fundraising. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
It doesn't have the word solicitation in it.
Or donate.
No, don't add more words. You got
Yeah,
it. Trying to work.
I thought you were still reading from last month's minutes, so I didn't know what was going on. So, okay. So,
Huh?
okay.
Just remember, he was reading the wrong agenda.
No, I know. No, I know. Yeah, so, but, radio star here. But yeah, so I could make those changes and bring it back next month, or I could move forward with your
I mean,
direction and just sign it.
That's what I was gonna say. I think we probably have two options. If everyone's okay with everything else and that wording is, as long as he keeps within the confines of that, could we still approve it? And then when that's made, I can still sign it?
That's what-
Should we make it, just include that in our motion? In which case I'm prepared to make a motion.
Yeah, approve the advisory opinion with the language as suggested.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to approve the advisory opinion inclusive of the language that we just discussed and as proposed by John Reed.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Clanky has made a motion to approve the advisory opinion with the language that we did in addition. Kelly has seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Your work.
Thank you.
All right, next we have public comment on non-agenda items. Okay. Directives, any specific directives anyone has for the staff?
I had one little thing. We had of our two complaints that we discussed at the beginning of the meeting, one of them was from this year. And in it, it was, it was received through anonymous means, which now with our heightened standards for complaints and investigations, that's not permissible. Is there a mechanism, or do we have that in our instructions to the complaint process? Or is there any way for people to know that anonymous complaints are no longer permissible for investigatory
Well,
purposes?
we have it in our procedures now, and I do, even though, like in this case, I know a way to get to the anonymous person indirectly to
I mean, barring that, like, are we effectively communicating to the public our requirements that are novel, that are new and have not existed through the arc of this commission thus far? But there was a real change that's been made. And how are we instructing the public?
I think we did that last year as in real time, as it was happening and after it happened. I'm not sure, other than things like we have it in the ethics guide, which is for the public, and we have it. If we don't, I think we mentioned it on our Facebook page. So
Perhaps contemplation of putting it on our website or in the instructions to the preamble to the complaint form, or, things of that ilk.
I think it is. I'll double check, but I think it is there.
I had a similar thought on that could it be a situation where, because anonymous would be hard, but if somebody files a complaint with us that we no longer are taking for procedural reasons, either because you complained about law enforcement, you didn't swear to it, you didn't put your name, but you didn't put your email or something, we want to have like a form that we send back that says your complaint wasn't analyzed because these are the new requirements. Because then that lets the person know, like, oh, maybe I want to go anonymous, or I will swear. Or just like, if we're not going to do something because of a technicality, do we respond to the person and say, we didn't process your complaint because of X? So then at least they know we
I
didn't
think
just.
you do that, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
perfect.
we do. And especially if it's a formal complaint, we always give them written response and explain why we didn't do something. I mean, we could politely encourage people to
I was gonna say,
reconsider.
well, your complaint is
We
valid.
wouldn't do that. One of the
Um,
things we are doing right now, because I didn't just dismiss it, when I get things like that, I ask John to do an analysis, so I have a record of it. So if we have a chance to bring this back up with legislature or something, we can say, these are complaints that we would have investigated, but we couldn't because. So we're keeping a record besides.
Any other directives? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn at 4:43.
Thank you.